Hi, my name is Lucy Wileman. I am a junior Dominican preacher. So in today's first reading, we heard about the story of man's creation from God, creating man out of clay and telling Adam that he had to take care of the Garden of Eden. God tells Adam that there is one rule that he must follow, which is not to eat the fruit of good and evil, because if he did, he would surely be doomed to die. In retrospect, this kind of sounds like a decent rule, like you have one thing and don't eat this, and if you do, you're gonna die. Okay, it's kind of like similar to the lines said at the beginning of our Thriller movie. Whatever you do, don't feed it after midnight. Don't try to bring him back from the dead. Don't open the book. Don't mess with things you don't understand. And similar to a Thriller movie, Adam and Eve continue to do what every protagonist does in every Thriller movie. They blatantly ignore the warning, and then they get brought with a force to be reckoned with, which in this case would be original sin. Now, fast forward to Jesus' time, where he's discussing how the cause of our sinfulness or uncleanliness is not to be taken on external factors, or things outside of control, but on things that already exist within a person, defile the person. This line kind of does sound like a little bit confusing, but Jesus is trying to convey is sin does not happen from external forces. It starts with each of us. From the innermost part of ourselves, our thoughts and our intentions, from desires which only individual mind and heart can conceptualize. However, he goes on to saying that when we let negative things harbor in our hearts, like jealousy, envy, hatred, and pride, they just lead to committing simple acts like theft, jealousy, malice, deceit, homicide, and it severs our relationship with God. That may be why in the first reading of the story of God's creation, and the warning up to Adam was said to show it's not the fruit that killed Adam, but his disobedience against God that doomed him. When Adam took a bite from the fruit, it was a deliberate act against God. Adam did this out of jealousy that God was keeping something that could make him great and acted out of pride. Adam wanted to be just as powerful as God. However, Adam came to realize that the only thing the fruit did was that realized the fact he was naked, and he hid himself out of shame for his actions. And God went on to banish Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden for consequences for their act of disobedience that has passed down through the rest of the humanity, with every person suffering from the malice acts out of the spite of people's hearts. You would think that this would mean humanity would be doomed to die, but Jesus came salvation for the whole human race. Jesus said that all evils come from within and they defile. But Jesus came to cleanse the world from original sin and restore our broken relationship with God through his death on the cross. This meant to get rid of the world from malice and bring in the good of the kingdom of God. However, this can only be done if we allow ourselves to be freed from hatred that we harbor in our hearts. And to conclude, no one can force you to take the fruit but yourself. The free will God gave us allows us to either sin or to follow him. So it's up to us to decide what to do with this free will. Instead of craving into hatred, turn to the other cheek and let yourself be open to love. We can do this by simply spending a little more time in prayer and acting in love in the way that Christ modeled for us. That's it.